Rob Staton is brought to you by Superior Linen Service, family owned and operated since 1926. Superior Linen Service committed to delivering the highest quality products and service to the greater Puget Sound area. Get your free quote today at suplinen.com. Give him a call, 253-2636. Stay up to date. Rob's insight. The man never sleeps, people. SeahawksDraftBlog.com. Video content, his YouTube channel, doing live video all the time. Thousands and thousands of views. Rob Staton Football. Follow him on Twitter at Rob Staton. Rob, I'm going to box out. I'm going to leave. You two catch up. Look who's there, Rob. The beautiful Jim Moore. Jim, look at Rob.
I love you,
Jim,
Rob.
Jim, I've got a confession to make, and a confession to you and to Puck as well. I put 50 quid on Boise State to win at the weekend.
Screw you, Rob. Yeah, you know what? You and your research, you knew something about Ashton Genty that we kind of thought, well, maybe the Cougs will bottle him up a little bit, but you knew better, didn't you?
He's an unbelievable player, isn't he? He's been doing that to everybody. So, yeah, there was that game, and there was Colorado plus 14 against UCF, which just didn't look right. So I enjoyed my betting weekend. That was pretty good.
Yeah, well, who do you like this week?
I haven't looked yet, but I have to say I was rooting for the Cougs. I've taken an interest, watching you guys every day. Has made me sort of lean towards wanting the Cougs to win. I was trying to get on board with that Heisman push you were making there. So
what are you talking about, Rob? You weren't rooting for the Cougs Saturday night when you had 50 quid on Boise State.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Well, thank you. I don't make many, as you know.
Oh, hey, Jim, we glossed over this. Did you say 50 quid? What is that? What I don't. I'm not following there. Jim, do you follow with that?
Yeah, I know it's a British term.
Okay.
So you would say like $50, wouldn't you?
Yes.
So we would say 50 quid.
50 quid. Okay.
For 50 English pounds.
Don't sit there and act as if you knew that more. You didn't know that.
So what'd you do, Rob? Just go to the corner? I mean, you guys have like gambling shops everywhere over there, right?
Well, we do. They're everywhere, and I don't need to do that because there's online gambling over here. So
you can do it on your phone. You can do it on your phone.
I can do it on my
phone. There's online gambling here too. It's illegal, and I just partake of it anyway, Rob.
There's a novel
anytime soon.
So there's a novel concept. You can actually do it from your phone there. Wow, that would be fun to live in a place where you could do that.
Instead of having to go in a parking lot.
Jesus.
Yeah, but it's a bad thing, though, because I did the same thing every week. Like right before the games kick off at 6 p.m. over here, the first slate of NFL games, I'm always tempted to put on a last-minute parlay or just have a look at what they're offering there, and there's all kind of options. And that's always the bets that don't come off. So, I need to avoid a bit of that. That's the problem with having it in your phone, I think, in your hand.
Do you like Jim and I will do time to time? Do you partake in in-game betting?
No, I have some friends who will say like, "Oh, now would be a great time to get on Kansas City when they go 10 points down in a game because you'd expect them to come back." But I don't think I've ever done that. No, I don't think I've ever done it in game.
Jim, have you?
No, I've done it a few times. I think live betting is a mistake. You're chasing your money in the game, and then you can, double your losings by doing that. I haven't gotten into the betting on the props either. I mean, my kids are into betting on. They take after their dad a little bit. I'm kind of proud of it. But they do the player prop stuff all the time. Like the other night, we're in Boise, and it's still, it was bleak for the Cougs in the fourth quarter. But Mikey was sitting there going, "God, if Chris Hudson could just anytime touchdown, Dad, anytime touchdown." And then Chris Hudson had come out with an injury, and he was all bummed out. But it still gives you interest in a game, though, if your team is out of it, like the Cougs were Saturday night.
I kind of enjoy in-game betting.
Do you? Oh, God, it kind of means you're sicker than normal.
Yeah, hey, Rob, over there across the pond, like for us over here, betting on the WNBA and spring training baseball is rock bottom. What's rock bottom over there?
Wow. I don't think we have anything at quite that level. Okay. So you can bet on like
how about
reality
cricket?
TV over here. Like, well, cricket's a great one to bet on.
Cricket's huge.
It's huge over here. It's huge here. Australia and India. So, there's quite a strong cricket bet in there. But, all of our sports, all of our main sports are on there, but you can bet on stupid things like reality TV and stuff like that over here. So that's probably the lowest of the lot.
Yeah.
Hey, Rob, how do you do it anyway? We were talking before you came on, like everything that you're doing with covering soccer over there, the Seahawks here, and then the draft on top of that. How do you find time to work everything in?
I have the best wife in the world, who is very, very patient and lets me indulge all of my obsessions. So whether that is, hey, I'm going to go to Germany and watch England play in the Euros final this weekend. Fine, have a great time. And then I'll just go off and do it. And then at this time of year, hey, I've got to write this 4,000-word article about Alabama against Georgia. And, she's just said, you crack on and do that. So, but the good thing is that, some of this stuff pays for our holidays. So she gets that benefit out of it.
Okay. Yeah, that's Jim, wouldn't it be nice to have an understanding wife? Your thoughts?
God, she already yelled at me this morning for the way I put the blanket on the couch. Like, Jesus Christ, are you fucking kidding me? Yeah. God, those are our problems.
You know what?
You should have talked to my first wife. I mean, we had legitimate problems in my first marriage.
So my wife works at home. I'm gonna whisper a little bit because she may or may not be on a call. So she works from home. She's out in the living room. If I go out there when she's on a call and just try to, like at lunchtime, just start to make a little lunch, I make any noise, I get up. What are you doing? I don't know. Getting lunch? You could go into the office.
Yeah, but how would you feel if she came in right now and disturbed you?
Yeah, but this is important.
Yeah, okay. So, Rob, when was the last time you worked a 40-hour week?
Oh, I don't know.
40-hour week? The guy's not working 40 hours. Come on.
I know. That's why I'm asking when the last time was that he actually worked one.
No, so I did my day job and then I'll come home, I'll walk the dogs, and it's pretty much straight into like the draft stuff after that. And then my weekends, if I'm working for the national radio on the NFL, then that will take up a few hours on Sunday. Otherwise, I just watch, Red Zone all the way through to the Seahawks, and then all the streaming stuff. So it pretty much takes up my life. And then during the summer, I have a social life, which is quite nice. But from August to April, it's pretty much day job and then other job, NFL draft stuff. So yeah, but I enjoy it.
Okay.
Do you drink heavily to get through it? Does that help at all? Or
Sometimes
not everybody copes the way you do. All right. No one wants to hear about his drinking habits, his hours that he works in the week, or that he walks his dog.
I love Rob.
He's on here to talk about football, all right? I want to know, despite the loss, you encouraged by how they played. I came away from it, Rob, thinking of the Seahawks. I felt pretty good about it, even though that they lost the game.
Well, I came away from thinking, first of all, Ken Walker is a heck of a player. What a player. That was just an unbelievable rushing performance from him. And if he can stay healthy, he could have a chance to be the rushing leader this season, even despite the fact he's missed 2 games already. So what a player. I think that game puts to bed 2 of the things that have annoyed me most about what is often described, guys, as analytics Twitter, which is that running backs don't matter. When you see a performance like that, how can you say they don't matter? And the other one was that pass rush doesn't matter as much as your secondary these days. Well, clearly not having Leonard Williams, Boye Mafe, Byron Murphy, that Uchenna Nwosu had a massive impact on that game because the Seahawks just couldn't do anything on defense, and it undermined what was a tremendous performance from pretty much everybody on offense. So yeah, I didn't come away that disappointed and despondent. I kind of expected them to lose anyway, given all of the injuries. To see Geno Smith play the way that he did, Ken Walker, the offensive line held up for the most part. I think I came away from that thinking I'm really positive about Ryan Grubb on the offense, and I think this defense will be a lot better than that when players get back.
Yeah, I look at it, Rob. Like I'm with Puck. I was more encouraged than discouraged. I mean, what were you supposed to expect from that defense with so many injuries? And then you flip it around, and Geno Smith. I mean, I don't know where you were on Geno last year or the year before exactly, but now, I mean, can you make a case that he's top 10, maybe even top 5 among quarterbacks in the NFL now?
This is a strange year, though, isn't it? Because you can definitely make that case. I mean, he's played. I've not seen every quarterback play, but I'd be surprised if there are, let's say, 6 better performers at quarterback than him so far this year. I mean, even Patrick Mahomes has struggled for the most part, and the defense in Kansas City has won them their 4 games. So he's played exceptionally well. But isn't it weird that he's played as well as he has? And we can sit here and having seen the games and say he's been unbelievable. And yet his stats, like he's got 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. It feels like he should have 10 touchdowns and like 1 interception with the way that he's played. So it's a bit of a weird one with that, but he's played so well. I mean, like watching him, like every time he dropped back on Monday night, you had confidence he was going to deliver. And these were like difficult throws. They were not like dump offs and yards after the catch. It was like thrown into layered areas, thrown into tight windows. And he was fantastic. It's just a shame that, on defense, David Montgomery had a 40-yard catch and run that with the players bouncing off him like it was back to the last season under Pete Carroll. You'd got Jared Goff catching a Philly special. And was it Travis Gibson who was in coverage there?
I think so.
I hope there was some banter going on this week about the fact that he could not catch up to Jared Goff, who looked.
I like how he waved at his arm to try to block the pass. I mean, they didn't throw it in. They didn't throw an incompletion in the entire game.
I know.
Think about that.
And then the other one was when they put together a fantastic offensive drive that took time off the clock. It was brilliant. And you're thinking, right, here we go. The Seahawks are in the game. And then like one play later, Jameson Williams was just running downfield untouched for 70 yards. Like if the defense could have just done a little bit more and like avoided those back-breaking plays, then that would have been good. But look at the players they had out on defense. Like somebody I saw on Twitter, like Jeff Simmons, who I do some streams with, said it'd be like expecting the offense to play brilliantly without your starting quarterback. And that's kind of what I think the defense looked like.
I mean, because that was like the follow-up. Like, how much do you weigh their defensive performance because of the guys that they were missing? I mean, they still ended up, despite the guys that were out, there was 3, the key guys are Mafe, Murphy, and then Leonard Williams. Love goes out in the game. I'm not going to put Baker up there in that category. That's just me. But they still gave up 42 points, and a quarterback did not throw an incompletion. So, how much do you weigh, that performance with the guys that were missing versus, maybe they're just, they for the first time faced an offense that was really, really good.
Yeah, I think it's a really difficult one that we're going to have to just see how they get on against the Niners a week on Thursday, and then see how they get on against the Bills, and then we'll have a better picture, because hopefully some of these players will be back. I worry a little bit on some of these. Mike McDonald's very vague. In fact, saying he's very vague is ridiculous. He just doesn't say anything about injuries.
Nothing.
Like, he just flat out says nothing. So you can't really take much of anything that he says about them. But it doesn't feel positive. Like the vibes around, like Byron Murphy's going to miss a few games, and Leonard Williams has got a rib injury and no one's talking about it. Like a rib injury. I think you had Garofalo on last week, Puck, and he said that's the kind of thing that could take a big man out for the whole season, potentially. Yeah. The fact that he was like running around or sort of joking at practice the other day made me think if it was that serious, he wouldn't be doing that. But if these guys miss a bit of time, then this could be a bit of an issue for the defense. And you do wonder, look, they've got $12 million to play with here. The trade deadline's, in a month's time. Do they have to go out and have a look what's out there? Do they have to go and fill in some gaps here? Because you'd hate, with the offense playing the way it is, you'd hate for the defense to be a big liability over the next few weeks and ruin what feels like a really good chance to have a go in the NFC West and, take on the Niners in an NFC year where the Eagles look like crap. There's the Cowboys look awful, and the Niners have been very good in 2 games and quite bad in 2 games, and the Minnesota Vikings are unbeaten with Sam Darnold. Like it feels like anything could happen this year in the NFC. So will the Seahawks will they go and have a look and see what's out there to give themselves the best chance to have a great season this year? Because it feels like there's openings there for a number of teams.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Rob. You think they have a decent shot of playing in the NFC Championship game?
I'd probably be more confident of that if I'd have seen this collection of players win a playoff game, just one game. Like until it's one of those, like I need to see it happen. Like if the Seahawks end up on the road in Detroit again, or Minnesota, or San Francisco in the wild card, I'm not confident they would win that game. So I kind of feel the need to see them win a game like that to believe it. But if they can win the NFC West and any of those teams have to go to Seattle, then I would think they could win. I would feel belief in that, but I kind of have to see it first, and who's healthy and stuff like that. Whereas I've seen the Niners win games. I've seen the Niners win playoff games last season. They should have lost 2 of the games, and they won them both. Got to the Super Bowl, and we've seen other teams like Tampa Bay have won a playoff game against the Eagles last year. We've seen other teams do this, so kind of need to see the Seahawks do it first.
I don't think one of the dogs. Hold on. I don't think one of the dogs agrees with Jim. Yeah.
Entertaining that question. I saw Puck's look on his face like, God, that's laughable.
No,
you were laughing.
No. That's not. I was.
You were laughing.
I'm not laughing at the question.
What were you laughing at?
I'm laughing at because that was a gambling question. Because you're going to
it wasn't a gambling question. It was for the greater good. It was for your audience.
You're going to put
because honest
money
to God,
down.
I look at the NFC and I'm going, well, you look at the Ravens the other night and you're going, oh shit, how are you going to beat them? But in the NFC, do you see a team the Seahawks can't beat?
I agree with you. I don't think there's no dominant teams in the NFC. And I agree with Rob. I mean, if they get healthy on defense, and God, who knows, maybe they make a move at the deadline. But as they continue to play under his system, it's very intricate. There's a lot of audibles on defense. They're moving guys around. And with the way the offense is playing, yeah. I mean, I want to see what they look like against San Francisco. I mean, San Francisco still won't be at full strength, but yeah, I don't think that there's not Rob. There's not a runaway winner in this division or in league, I should say.
There isn't. I mean, I watched quite a lot of the Niners
league, division, conference. I couldn't spit it out for God's sakes.
I watched a lot of the Niners the other day, and they played the Patriots, who look bad. They look a lot worse than they did when they played Seattle. But you watch Fred Warner playing like the way that he is. He's got to be in the running through 4 games at least to be defensive, one of the contenders for defensive player of the season. And Brock Purdy is playing a lot better than he has, and he played quite well previously, and he's playing even better this year. So you kind of look at that and you think, do you know what? They're going to be tough. They are going to be tough, and that's why I can't wait for a week tomorrow to see what it's game's coming up, isn't it? To see what the Seahawks are going to do, because as I've said to you before, Puck, I flew all the way to Seattle for the game between the Seahawks and the Niners in Seattle on Thanksgiving last year, and it was horrendous. Like, it was just at halftime, I was thinking of going back to the hotel for an old fashioned because it was that bad. And I've traveled all that way to watch it, and they just got destroyed. So I need to see the Seahawks play the Niners close, especially in Seattle. Give them a game, preferably win that one, if for no other reason, because I know a couple of San Francisco 49ers fans, and they're quite irritating.
Hey, right tackle, how desperate do you have to be to bring in a 42-year-old guy again?
Yeah, pretty desperate. I mean, the league is having a massive problem with offensive linemen. And if you look at what's coming up in the draft, there are not going to be a lot of easy solutions there. So I think the whole league's going to be looking at this picture and thinking, there's probably about 20 teams right now who've got a terrible offensive line. And Seattle have patched theirs together by bringing Tomlinson in and finding Connor Williams. And okay, now that Stone Forsythe or Jason Peters is going to be the right tackle, or will Peters play guard maybe, or compete with Bradford and Haynes and make that 3-way battle? Who knows? It's a big problem. The Seahawks are never going to be the team that they could potentially be until they sort that offensive line out. They've sorted the defensive line out, and we've seen what it looks like without the top players on defense. They have got to sort their offensive line out. That is going to be priority 1, 2, and 3 in this offseason, is to get that offensive line fixed. But it is probably, short of finding an amazing franchise quarterback, it's probably the second hardest thing to do in the NFL.
Oh, I mean, without a doubt. There was a moment in the game, and I want to see what you think, and Jim, you volley in here too. The analytics, when to go for it, and when to go for 2. I thought that the decision to go for 2 was way too early. I understand that the thinking behind it, totally get it. I mean, it makes sense when you start talking about it and looking ahead to the other scores, but 3 minutes to go, Rob, in the third quarter. Why? What's the point of doing that at that moment in the game?
It's being a hipster. It's being football hipster. It's trendy. Hey, we'll go for 2 because then if we get the 2-point conversion, we'll be driving to take the lead next time. Just kick the extra point. I was watching a game. We covered it over here on the radio. Dallas against Baltimore. And they went for two. They were chasing the game, and they went for two very early and didn't get it. And everyone was like, "Why did they do that earlier? Oh, it's the analytics." And then they went for two again and didn't get it. And then they kicked the extra point. And it turned out that in the end, they had to get a touchdown rather than a field goal to tie the game. And you're thinking, if you'd have just kicked the extra points, like it would have made your life easier. Like it's overthinking it. I'm getting a bit bored of all this sort of analytics stuff in football. Like, especially if you're in field goal range early in a game, take a 3 points. If you're the Eagles and you know a field goal will get you a 6-point lead against the Falcons, the previous Monday Night Football, just do it. Make Kirk Cousins go 70 yards against your defense with one leg to beat you, as opposed to what ended up happening. Like I just don't understand it. And I didn't like it. I didn't like the call that they had for the 2-point conversions either. It was like low percentage throws to the outside, 1v1 with DK Metcalf. I would have liked to see a bit more creativity there. Granted, DK, I think, actually scored a 2-point conversion. Then the ref decided he didn't.
For sure. Oh, yeah.
But even so, I didn't like it. I didn't see the point of it. It annoyed me at the time, and it was 3 o'clock in the morning, so it was even more annoying.
Okay, a positive thing from the game. My favorite play was that throw to JSN, and then he threw it out to Charbonnet. 3rd and 16, they pick up 19 yards and get the first down. Are you kidding? The only time you ever see that play in football is at the end of the game when you're so desperate that you have to just be lateraling all over the field. And so, I mean, Ryan Grubb, I know the Seahawks are passing probably more than they want to, but that might be a reflection of Ken Walker being out, and maybe they'll get back into running it more. But I absolutely love that play because it caught everybody off guard.
What a play. And, that was one of my favorite plays, Jim. And how about the Ken Walker, like he was down, but he wasn't. And then he did like a little backflip on the floor. What was that? I've never seen anything like that before. Like that is, I mean, he must be, one of the 10 best athletes in the NFL to be able to do something like that.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not only that, but then it's the play that he scores on, right? When he starts left, he cuts back right against the grain, and it has enough speed to get around the edge. I mean, he's, it's the offense is 100% different with him in there, opposed to Zach Charbonnet. Thanks, Tips. I'm really glad we came here for that information. But I mean, he is just an absolute difference maker, and he's got to stay healthy. How about that today, Jim? Someone's going to leave today going, boy, these guys were talking about Ken Walker, and one of them, the guys, the portly one, said, hey, Ken Walker's a real big difference maker. Glad I tuned into for this show. Jesus. What an idiot.
The portly one. The portly one. I like that. I know, Rob, you have to get going, or can we hang out with Rob?
No. You got like 15 more minutes. You're good.
Okay, I got something else you can put 50 quid on this week.
Go
you ready?
Yeah.
Take the Giants and the points. And you're going, why would I take the Giants in 6 when the Seahawks are at home? The 12s will be there. Everybody be going crazy. Giants are no good. Danny Dimes sucks. All those different things. Neighbors might be out with a concussion. But here's what I'm telling you, Rob. All the way across the pond, it's a letdown spot for the Seahawks. I'm big on trap games and letdown spots. They just played the Lions on Monday Night Football. They're playing the 49ers on Thursday night next week. The Giants come to town. You expect to show up and beat them. Take the Giants in 6. Go with it, Rob.
Yeah,
go with
listen,
it, Rob.
You may well be right, Jim. I'm not feeling that great about this game because I think everybody's just expecting they're going to win. And, who is Leonard Williams and Boye Mafe and Byron Murphy and Jerome Baker? Are they all going to be back? Is Julian Love out now? Are they all going to be back? Because if they're not, that's a huge issue. And, I don't think it's a given that, the Giants have played poorly, but they have had a couple of games where it's been close. So I'm not dismissing that at all. And I don't know, do you have a word for when you bet against your team? For because if you win, you're happy, but if you lose but win the bet, it's like a little consolation prize.
Yeah, we call it the go-to guy. That's what he does.
Hey, Rob, I can't get him to bet on the Cougs, man. That's our team, and he won't even bet on our team.
Rob, who's your favorite team?
The Seahawks.
That trumps anything European football team.
Oh, Well, I'm English, so it's English the English national football team.
The English national team. Do you bet on the English national team?
I have never bet on England. No.
There you go.
Is it because you don't think they're going to win, or is it because you get too nervous and stressed out?
Yeah, I think it's probably a healthy dose of skepticism that England have never won anything in my lifetime, and also the fact that England. It's probably more important than life itself that England wins something before I pass. So I don't want to go anywhere near that.
So wait a minute, hold on. England has routinely let you down every year?
Yes, I am 40 now.
Okay, so welcome to being a Coug and / Mariners fan.
Yeah,
that's what it's like. But Rob, it's a double dose of it.
Yep, I can feel that pain. I feel the pain. Like there is some crossover between the Mariners and the English national football team. Both run appallingly and make terrible decisions all the time. So,
but at least you got to what did you get to? What was the championship game you just got to?
We got to the European final.
Yeah, at least you've been
consecutive time.
At least you've been there. This organization hasn't been in there. Hasn't even sniffed it. If Malik Neighbors, Jim brought it up, if Neighbors is out, who's just having an unbelievable season right now, if he is out for a concussion, how much does that change the Giants' offense?
Well, it does an incredible amount of damage to the Giants because they don't have Saquon Barkley anymore. Their running backs have been, I think, somewhat efficient, but not explosive. They don't really have anybody else on offense that you would be scared of. Defensively, they have basically Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, and not a lot else. So, yeah, look, he's such a great player. Like he showed in that game he had a couple of weeks ago that he's an unbelievable talent. So if you don't have to deal with that, it's great. I can remember Odell Beckham when he was a rookie coming to Seattle and like having a breakout performance. So, avoiding any kind of repeat of that would be nice. So, I expect the Seahawks to win, but I think Jim makes a good point. It does feel like a dangerous game. And especially because, the difference between going into that Niners game at 4-1 and taking them on at 4-1 and feeling like, oh crap, it's now 3-2. And if they lose this game, it's back to 500. That feels like a big difference. Like imagine if the Seahawks won the next two games and 5-1, how positive we will feel about them versus if it's 3-3. That does feel like quite a strong difference there.
Hey, Rob, I really appreciate the compliment. I think I've made 2 or 3 good points today. And do you think I'm wasting my time on this fledgling podcast and that I should maybe be with ESPN?
It's not a podcast when it's live.
Or the NFL Network, something like that. Like, I'm kind of a bigger deal. I'm kind of lowering myself being on this, just like you are. So you think I should, set the bar a little higher?
Well, Jim, I have to say, I listen every single time you're on. So every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and it is the perfect complement to my nightly dog walk, or if I'm driving home from work at 6 p.m. my time. And I think it is a must listen every night. So I sincerely hope that you don't go off to join First Take or any of these other big shows. That you would be perfect. You would raise their level. You would raise their level significantly.
Hey, Rob,
I can't see myself yelling like those guys. God, those guys are just yelling all the time.
I'm going to let you in on a little secret that, Rob, they're not going to be banging on his door.
Yeah, let's hire that guy from Seattle who's been fired twice. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Rob, there's only one reason he wants to go work on First Take. Just tell him the reason why you want to go work on First Take.
I already know.
He likes fat Kimberly. No, he likes fat Kimberly Martin.
Kimberly Martin.
Yeah,
who are you to call people fat, man? I mean, come on. What the hell? Kimberly Martin's hot, okay? And she does a good job. Is that all right? Did I like her?
I'm just good for you. I mean,
Rob,
I didn't know that was it. Didn't know that was, it's a weird, we just didn't know that's what you were into. Well, Rob wants to get off this thing as fast as he possibly can. That's what he wants to get off of. Yeah. He just he didn't, Rob didn't say anything about listening to your podcast Tuesdays and Thursdays when you're doing your joining on with your monologue. Hey, trust me, it was duly noted. Duly noted.
Well, I'm on a Tuesday. Listen, I've heard it all, so it's fine.
Yeah, don't worry about duly noted. Hey, before you go, you wrote up at SeahawksDraftBlog.com just a whole recap of the college football weekend, guys that you were watching. Jalen Milroe, okay, that was the game. That was the game of the weekend. Probably going to be the game of the year. Alabama and Georgia. We've talked about him a bunch here. I, like many people, intrigued by him. There's always going to be the natural connections because of Kalen DeBoer and then Ryan Grubb and all of that. Can you envision him in a Seahawks uniform? Where, in your opinion, where is he at right now as an NFL prospect for the draft next year?
I think he's quite a long way off being in a place where you would feel comfortable starting him. Now, if you compare the Alabama-Georgia game last season, he was awful, as a passer. He was just basically a running back playing quarterback. So when you actually watch this game at the weekend, he is throwing in a better way. I think the scheme and DeBoer's scheme is very good, and it creates a lot of opportunities for him, and it doesn't require any real processing in the pocket. He's not being asked to do a lot technically in the pocket to distribute the football. He is basically being told, here's your read, and if it's not there, take off and run. And he is such a good athlete that taking off and running is, more often than not, a fantastic idea for him. And we saw that in the first half. Georgia didn't defend the perimeter. It's like they'd never seen him play. They kept letting him sort of break off these big runs to the outside. And then in the second half, they took that away. He was then asked to throw a bit more in the pocket, and it didn't work out. They were poor on third downs. They were poor on third downs against USF as well a couple of weeks before that. So I don't think he's... I heard Mel Kiper saying he's in the contention to be QB1, and people are now talking about in the first round. I'm not buying any of that. For me, he reminds me of a better version of Malik Willis, who went in the third round. I think at the moment, he's a day 2 pick who's a great athlete, great physical potential, but there are just other players like Quinn Ewers and Shedeur Sanders and Garrett Nussmeier who are just doing so much more from the pocket than he has to do.
Well, there he is.
And then, Rob, can I follow up just with a quick one? Cam Ward, you mentioned Cam Ward. You saying no. As a possible day 2 guy, and then, some people are thinking number 1 overall, and there's so many mixed feelings about Cam Ward. And you've got him going day 2. And I was like, yeah, I could see that. But they always overdraft quarterbacks in the NFL. But you're not real high on Ward, are you?
No, I'm not. They do overdraft. Bo Nix was overdrafted and things like that. But, a couple of years ago, you had a whole bunch of quarterbacks people expected to go in the first round, and they went in the third. And I think Cam, you guys don't need me to tell you about Cam Ward. You know what Cam Ward is. He starts every season on fire. He looks great. He makes a load of creative plays, and then the schedule gets a bit tougher. Things, he then feels like he's got to force things a little bit more, and that's when the mistakes happen. And against Virginia Tech, that's what was happening. He had some horrible decisions, some horrible throws, some bad interceptions, a number of turnovers. But, Virginia Tech allowed Miami to get away with it, and in the end, he drove downfield a couple of times, and he won them the game. So he's played better than I expected than he would for Mario Cristobal, who's not a very good coach down in Miami. And their schedule's not very good, so he might not face many difficult tests. But I think when they play difficult opponents, we'll see the Cam Ward that we saw at Washington State. And I think he is more of a mid-round pick than a top pick. And I saw him live last year, and I didn't ever feel like I was watching, like a first rounder. So I'm not buying all this talk of him like being a top 10 pick and a first round pick.
Rob Staton, brought to you by Superior Linen Service, family owned and operated since 1926. Superior Linen Service, committed to delivering the highest quality products and service to the greater Puget Sound area. Get your free quote today at suplinen.com. Give them a call, 253-383-2636. Stay up to date with Rob's work, SeahawksDraftBlog.com, with the 2 storylines with Ward and also with Milroe we just talked about. Video content, great YouTube page, great channel, Rob Staton Football, and follow him on Twitter at Rob Staton. And in case you came in late, just missed this, I'll be up on YouTube, later on Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast, and of course, at BuckSports.com. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it. Thanks for doing it. Thanks for putting up with Jim.
Thanks, guys. Jim, great to see you. Keep up the good work, guys.
Yeah, you too, Rob. Take care.